I wanted to do a quick video on how to do an SBAR report. So SBAR basically is an acronym for situation, background, assessment, and recommendation. So I teach a LVN transitions course where the students are already LVNs, they're already licensed, and they're coming into our nursing program as second semester nursing students. And one thing I noticed when talking with one of the students, asking them like, hey, like how is the course? Do you feel like you're prepared coming into second semester? And one thing that was brought to my attention was that they don't feel confident either giving or receiving SBAR report. I know that's something that we provide. We provide like an SBAR report sheet in the simulation lab when we're doing HPSL, because the students are coming in in simulation and getting report from maybe the night shift nurse, or they're coming in as a new nurse taking over care for a patient and they're receiving the SBAR report. Some students may already have a brain that works for them, or a formatting where they like to write down the information. Other students just start getting out a piece of paper and jotting down as much information as they can because it's just overwhelming for them. So I wanted to create this quick video to kind of help you have a better understanding of what an SBAR report is, what it might look like, maybe some things that you'll want to ask when receiving report from a nurse. Okay, so I would have my 4 sheets. The brain that I like to use, I can try to see if I can upload it here somewhere, but this is a blank one of what form I used to use when I worked on my floor. And then say I came back a second day, I would basically still have this core information because most of that information doesn't change. It's the same patient, same code status for the most part. All this information basically stays the same. What changes are the labs and the meds for that day. So what I would do, I'd have a sheet like this, and I would have just this half sheet. So I would write the updated blood sugar, the updated vitals, the updated tele, the updated lab values, and then this would be my charting that I would do, and then I would have my meds, my to-do list, and then over here might be like PRN meds. So I'll kind of give you an example. Don't be judgy. This is just a mock patient I made up. Maybe like a typical patient I would see on my floor when working, but this was what my SBAR would be, okay? Okay, so this is kind of a mock patient that I created. So I will go through the SBAR reading it off as I would potentially be taking down this information. So we'll say the patient is John Doe. He's a 76-year-old male. He was admitted on the 13th of November. He's a full code and a patient of the hospitalist. He has no known drug allergies. Came in for CHF exacerbation, having shortness of breath for 2 days and bilateral lower extremity swelling. History, it looks like he has diabetes. And at this point, when getting report from the night shift nurse or day shift nurse, if I know they have diabetes, I want to ask if they checked the blood sugar. So at this point, let's say they said, oh yeah, I checked their sugar this morning, it was 152. Also, I want to know what their A1C is. So A1C here is 9.0. Maybe they'll have that information readily available. If not, if they don't already have that information available, that's something I can look up when I start looking more information up about my patient. It looks like also they have a history of CHF, history of hypertension, and a history of COPD. If I was concerned about their history of hypertension, I could ask further questions, but I already know that in report, I'm going to receive this information here. And then I'm also going to receive information about their COPD over here. So then I would continue getting report. Let's say the patient is, so the night shift nurse is telling me the patient is A&O times 4, but forgetful at times. Lung sounds are clear, maybe diminished at the bases. They are on 2 liters nasal cannula, and this is their baseline, which lets me know this is related to their COPD. It looks like their heart rate is in the 70s to 90s, and at this point, they can tell me the telemetry. They can tell me the rhythm, which is sinus rhythm. The actual range is 79 to 98. At this point, they could also specify if there were any PVCs or any arrhythmias throughout the night. blood pressure, you can ask them what the last blood pressure was, if they took it at like maybe 4 in the morning, or if they took it recently, if they had any like 6 a.m. meds. So last BP 142/80, STDs refused for VTE. They have a 20 gauge to their right AC that's saline locked. Activity wise, they're up with a cyst, but they do get short of breath on exertion. Diet is a cardiac diet, but they've had a decreased appetite. They're on a 2-liter fluid restriction. Now, if they were telling me a decreased appetite at this point, or maybe at this point, the night shift may have mentioned that, okay, well, he's recently widowed, he lives alone, and per the daughter, he stopped taking his home meds. That might be what's caused the CHF exacerbation. When I find out that they have a family member, I like to establish who is the SDM, who's that primary point of contact that I'll be talking to, and I like to put their information up here. So for example, this is their daughter, Jane, she's the SDM, and then I can write her phone number or any of her pertinent information here. They void per the urinal. Last bowel movement was 11:10. Now, this is important because 11:10, and they were admitted on the 13th. This lets me know that it's been 3 days since the patient has had a bowel movement. So what I want to do over here on my to-do list is I want to ask the MD for bowel care because the last BM was 11:10. They have no complaints of pain. Skin-wise, their bilateral lower extremities, they have 2+ pitting edema. I like to circle maybe which leg it might be, if it's describing, if the report is telling me specifics of a location on the patient's body, or like if they tell me, okay, pedal pulses are +1. Let's say report, they tell me that the coccyx, there's redness to the coccyx, but it's blanchable and there's a Mepilex applied. So then I circle that here. I could ask for any information specific to the diagnosis. So if they said CHF exacerbation, I can ask them what their EF is. Let's say they said it was 30%. They can also maybe provide me with the troponins being negative, that their BNP is 950. Blood sugar was 152, so I know I'm probably going to need to recheck it. But I want to make sure that I check it before I give their morning meds. So let's go into the plan. Typically, whoever is giving you a report is going to give you a breakdown of the plan, but this is also some information you can find at the bottom of the progress note from the doctor. So let's say for this mock patient, John Doe, the plan is to monitor his labs, right? We want to make sure everything's where it needs to be. Some pertinent lab values on my floor and specifics to telemetry floors would be the K, which is potassium. And here it looks like it's a little on the lower side. So that might be something we need to ask the doctor for, right? So to-do list, I want to replace the K 40 MEQs or ask the MD for a potassium protocol. So if they already have the protocol in place, that's probably what I'm going to replace it with. If they don't already have the replacement protocol, I'm going to ask the doctor for one. So plan, we want to monitor their labs. With CHF patients, we want to do daily weights, strict eyes and nose, right? Because he's on that 2-liter fluid restriction. We want to provide diabetes education, right? With that A1C of 9.0, that's letting us know it's not pretty controlled. So we need to give him some education, whether that's us as a bedside nurse or if there's a diabetes ed educator in the hospital. We're providing IV Lasix, right, for that CHF. That's part of the meds here. And then cardiac rehab consult. Maybe he needs to speak with a cardiac rehab nurse because of his EF being less than 40, right? It's only 30%. And then maybe we need to put in that social service consult because night shift told us that the patient was recently widowed and he lives alone. And then we're also seeing that he has a decreased appetite. That might let us know that maybe we also need to consult dietary, right? Maybe we need to provide him with something he might be interested in eating, like a shake or something. So this is just a quick little synopsis, I guess you can say, of what an SBAR report would look like. I'm gonna try to show you some other SBAR reports that I received from some of my coworkers. So this is an example of another SBAR report sheet. It's very similar to the one I use. However, on the bottom left, there's actually a place to record the NIH stroke scale. So this is more specific to a neurofloor. So I hope this information was helpful. If you have any questions about an SBAR or about a brain, let me know. There's different departments, there's different brains, there's different ways to receive SBAR or to write down information. You do what works best for you. This was just an example of what I used when I worked on my floor. And again, I worked on a medical telemetry floor. Good to know how to receive SBAR, how to give SBAR. The more you practice, the more you become proficient and the more you become comfortable in giving report. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below, and have a great day.